Welcome to how be Welcome to how to be a human leader without losing your job. We're here to chat about human leadership in a way that's real and relatable, tackling work-life challenges, and offering practical advice to navigate tough decisions. Whether you're leading a team or navigating your own career, we got you covered. I'm Roberto Torres, a startup engineering leader, and with me is Chris Holden-Key, a Fortune 100 IT leader. We'll dive into the real-world stuff, share experiences, and offer guidance on leading with compassion while keeping your career on track. Today, we're going to discuss how does a human leader help with the decisions that are beyond your authority. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good, Roberto. And you seem amazingly happy today. So your job must be going great. You're a big smile going. So things must be going good.
It has been. This company has an amazing culture, and I'm totally paid for this. And my manager is a humane leader who guides me really well.
It
Thank you.
is really good. Even though he didn't know he was a humane leader, you can now label him, right? You know, that this is a phrase that we kind of came up with for our talks, but it's good to see that there are others out there who are embracing uh, the techniques.
Yeah, indeed. Yes. I think that is the purpose of this podcast, actually. But yeah, indeed. But well, there has to be a time where us human leaders has to understand our boundaries, how far can we go? And we have to decide either if we cross that line or we are kept within that circle. So this is something that must be discussed, and I'm wondering, have you faced this before?
Yes, and it's interesting. We should probably talk a little bit about boundaries, some which are legal boundaries,
Uh,
some which are financial,
Moral,
and some are leadership
ethical.
boundaries, which are softer. So just to clarify, like in my experience, the financial ones, like there'd be a fixed dollar amount. Like I could sign on a PO up to a certain dollar amount for one thing that had no reoccurring charges, a very fixed amount. If I violated that, I would get fired. You know, that's a boundary.
Oh,
Um, Sometimes there were boundaries in terms of like if I thought an employee wasn't doing the right things and was not a good fit for the company, what are the rules and boundaries for corrective actions versus terminating the employee? But then sometimes there's leadership boundaries, right? Like for me, the kinds of boundaries where I felt good pushing those boundaries, right? And as leaders, we always push the boundaries, but be careful you don't cross the legal ones and things like that. But I would push those boundaries in terms of advice and help in decision making and try and push those boundaries maybe beyond where the other person may not know my background and may not realize that I had experience in an area where I could offer valid advice. And so I would push those boundaries by offering kind of more casual advice at first to see if the
hmm.
person is receptive. Because as humane leaders, we want everyone to be better. Our peers, the leaders above us, the leaders below us, everybody. We want everyone to be better for the company because that's the best for everyone. But they need to be receptive, especially when we're pushing the boundaries. Like our team will look to us more likely, right? Because they're officially in the hierarchy of the organization. They're our responsibility. They're more likely. But peers who are across from us or leaders who are above us in the org chart may not necessarily be super open to our advice. So I always start subtly, casually. Maybe you catch them in the hallway and say, you know, Roberto, I know I'm not on your team, but I actually had experience in some Cisco firewalls that we used in the past. And, you know, one of the things that we found was some of the redundancy didn't work the way that we thought it was. And we were able to prove it by doing these tests. Now, if that leader immediately says, well, that it doesn't matter to me, that, you know, that was 5 years ago. Okay, that leader's not too open to you stretching your boundaries and helping beyond that. But if that leader says, well, interesting, Chris, that's I hadn't thought of that. Could you explain more? Now you can push your boundaries, build relationships so that person's open to it. So I do think, when you're looking to expand, especially in a new company like you're at, right? They don't know your background. They don't know the different things that you've worked with. So you kind of have to ease into up to the edge of that boundary and then potentially pass into the boundary into another area by seeing if that other leader is receptive. Are they open? Are they interested in having help? One of the ways I've mentioned this before, I always answer the phone with, hey, it's Chris. How can I help you? Open that window, open the door of possible collaboration. And if they don't want to walk through it, if they shut you down right away, don't worry about it, my team's got it. Well, today's not a good day for you as a humane leader to try and cross that boundary. If they shut you down right away, maybe they're having a bad day. Today's just not the day to cross the boundary.
Yeah, people, excuse me, and people has their choice about letting this help towards them or denying, and that's true, One thing that I think that we must discuss about our boundaries is that if we decide to stick with our boundaries because, let's say, it's something regarding the company, it is called integrity. It is when you do it and it is no one seeing you, it is called integrity, as well as when someone is looking at you. So if you have a company-wide rules, or you have to follow a compliance document or process, well, it is called integrity because we understand that we cannot and we will not go further than that boundary itself. So we have to with our team, we have to talk with them about this. And if we spot that someone from our team might be crossing a boundary that they shouldn't be doing, we have to talk right away with them. It is not, and what I see, it is to guide them towards, hey, this is your boundary and you cannot go further because it will have a repercussion within yourself, and it will be several others. That might be several others. And this communication has to be fast and hastily. So we had to be aware of our situation, that situation, the company situation, and talk with them.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point around compliance and things like that, there are, again, these boundaries that are, some of the compliance things are legal, like, hey, if we don't do this compliance thing, like SOX in the United States for accounting and business practices, if we don't do some of those, that's actually illegal, right? That's a boundary you don't want to cross. And then there's some that are more like I was talking about, where the boundaries are more around responsibilities. And while you're technically not responsible for that, you could push that boundary and it isn't a legal repercussion around that, right? So, it is important as leaders for us to learn those boundaries, learn the aspects of which things are legal, financial, maybe ethics, maybe environmental, right? And then there are just the social ones, like when I'm reaching out to help the guy with the firewall because he doesn't know me yet and doesn't know I have experience, maybe he's open to that or not, right? And so there's all these different boundaries as leaders that we will encounter in our careers, and it's just about learning what they are and learning different approaches to handle those different things. Because like some of them on compliance, again, working for a really large public company, we had compliance things that we could report anonymously via a 1-800 number. Like if we saw somebody doing business with a country that they're not allowed to, right? Or sending a product that's controlled and not allowed to go to that country, and we saw someone trying to sell it into there, we had a special 800 number we could call to anonymously report that. And I knew of some people that called in some stuff that actually turned into findings, and people got fined and arrested, and different things actually happened. And this was, and they took great strides to make sure they stayed anonymous, like make the 800 call when they're in a different city from a payphone. Now there's less and less payphones. It's harder and harder to be anonymous, but they took it to the extreme to truly be anonymous and not track to report some of these things. Because I don't know if you're familiar with the ITAR in the United States. It's for defense products and things like that, national security products. And so if you were dealing with products like that, there's very specific laws setting up your boundaries of what you can do with that. And so you had to take classes and recertify every year that you understood those boundaries. So some boundaries, again, very soft, like offering help to people. Other boundaries, very technical. And if you don't understand them, you as the humane leader and to your team owe it to them to teach them about these boundaries so that they don't accidentally get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking they're doing a good thing. Hey, I found another market for this product. That's great. Yeah, it's into Iran. Uh-oh. Well, in the United States, doing business with Iran is big trouble. So, it's things like that, believe it or not, in big companies, it comes up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember when you were talking about talking to this 1-800. I at a startup 10 years ago, they had an email, ethics at their domain, and they said it was this is anonymous, and you had to feel compelled to send us an email with everything that you have seen, because we are not only a compliance company, but we have to create a safe environment for all the company. And they, even though it was a startup, a mild startup, a medium startup, they were really focused on that. And when companies give this, it's like loosen up, not loosen up. It's like they give you the rules to say you don't have to make a decision that it is above your payroll, And we have to detect and we have to understand that there will be some decisions that we cannot make it, we are humane leaders, and regardless of the position that we have, there will be people above us, managers and VPs and chiefs, that they will have to decide on something that it is not related to us. So if we face this, well, we face anything, any kind of implications that it is above our payroll, we have to contact them directly and hastily and say, this is going to be happening because you cannot make a decision. But let me tell you, 10 years ago to that same company, I raised a country ticket, something that it was not, I had no clearance about it, but we were going to lose our Mexican business forever because the government were going to shut us down because we weren't following the compliance given by the government. And when I sent an email and everything with my peers and one labor, and nobody made this decision, and I saw that we were 2 weeks by of closing this because the government was going to do it. I had to raise a government ticket, excuse me, a country ticket, and it happened, and the business remained and everything. But I think that was once in many different times that I didn't do anything because it was outside my boundaries. So I think, yeah, please.
Oh, I was going to say is that, see, that's where the humane leader realizes that while some leaders above should have probably taken action. You need to stretch your boundary and be strong and do something that might get you in some trouble, right? Because maybe they don't want you to do that. But you have to, assess, this is the time when I'm going to push that boundary, and I've assessed all my other options. I've tried to get other people to react. They haven't. I feel strongly about this. I'm positive I'm right. I've collaborated with my peers, and none of them are strong enough to report it. I'm going to do it. And you have to self-reflect a little bit. You had to think about, am I sure this is the right thing to do? And will no one else step up and do it? It's not quite being a hero, like in the military sense, but it's being a corporate hero. You're being a business hero. You're saying, look, I am staking my reputation on this, and I'm going to do it. And a humane leader needs to, in many situations, assess it and say, is this something important enough that I'm going to be the hero? I'm going to stretch my boundary, and I am going to make a decision, and I am going to take action because I feel that strongly about it that I'm right. One thing I always tell many people is like, look, you're going to need to make that decision. I can help you and coach you. We can talk about it, but you have to make this decision, but also realize there could be consequences. Because if you're wrong, there could be consequences like, well, we're not happy with Roberto's performance now because of that, and maybe you don't get the next promotion, or maybe even worse, they actually decide to get rid of you because maybe you were wrong. But the humane leader needs to, reflect, consider what the consequences could be, and determine with your own ethics, your own decision. No, I feel strongly I need to do this. And that's what you did. You were the business hero.
Yeah, well, I didn't saw it like that. I thought that this business had to be saved, and had to, because we were like 20 people in the Mexican office, so we had to. And yes, I agree. I spent 2 days thinking thoroughly if I had to do this or not, but I decided it was either a yes or yes. So I spoke the following day with my country manager and the VP, and my country manager then later at the different meeting, he told me that, hey, that wasn't supposed to be by you doing, but I'm glad that you did it. And he acknowledged that he lacked that decision, even though he was kind of mad. But yeah.
Well, again, you made the decision, and you were ready that there could be good consequences. Thank God you stepped up and did this, or bad consequences. Hey, that wasn't your decision to make, even though we'd be in big trouble if you didn't make it. Sometimes there are inhumane, right, leaders above us who would be upset that you stepped outside your boundaries. And that's something I think over time, you're new in your current company, relatively. It's a couple weeks now, couple months now coming up on, and you're getting a better sense of like, well, how much can I stretch my boundaries? How much can I overstep? How much can I influence others' decisions? Because sometimes, the boundary pushing isn't that you actually make the decision. It's that you get your opinions and your point of view across to the person who's going to make the decision. And it may not be in your area. It may not be in your part of the hierarchy of the organization. But as you get more comfortable in that company, you know which leaders are approachable. And you can approach them with, look, this isn't my area of the compliance on ITAR, but I'm a bit concerned because I was in a meeting and this is what they're proposing to do, and it didn't seem like they were considering these government regulations. So you're not officially contacting the anonymous support, but you're letting a leader, maybe a peer, maybe somebody above you in a different part of the organization, you're letting them know that there is this potential concern. And hopefully you've had this kind of a relationship with them long enough to assess, like, this is the most approachable leader. Let's suppose it's in sales and you're in the technical area. But of the 5 leaders in sales that you know, this one's the most approachable. So that's the one you talk to about, selling into this product into the controlled country. This is probably the best person to talk to about it, right? To ensure that your input is taken in the way you mean it. That's one of the key things as a humane leader, is that you say it in a way where, look, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to ruin the company. I'm just trying to protect the company and help the company. And as the humane leader, because of their really good communication skills, because of humane leaders' sense of how is that person going to receive the message, you can get that critical information to them, even though it's not in your organizational chart.
Yeah, indeed. And you spotted. We're trying to help the company. This is not a hidden agenda. This is not because we think that is right for us. We're trying to help the company, not only the company who's paying our payroll, but many different people around this whole company. So there a decision that might be, well, in my case, we're going to affect 20 people within the Mexican office. So something had to be done. And I think that before making a harsh decision that might be outside your boundaries, you have to breathe. It's not that you inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. No, you have to. There is an exercise that has helped me, that my therapist has given me, and it has helped me to make better decisions. Is to inhale for 7 seconds or count to 7, then count to 8, maintaining your breath, then exhale for 9 seconds, and then go again with 7 seconds, holding your breath, and that will help you chill down. Get if you're stressed, it will help you. If you do it this cycle for a number of times, it will help you release that stress and make better decisions. Because when we are calm, we're going to do much better decisions than when we are in a rush, in a hurry, and we might not see everything, all the whole perspective. We might be in blinders. So it's really important for us to be calm, to do much better decision instead of not being.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And I think in general, a lot of the things that we've talked around humane leadership techniques, as you gain some more of them, you get more comfortable in pushing your boundaries. So, to the listeners out there, continue to try and expand your humane leadership and seeing the big picture of everything that's going on. And, you then can feel more comfortable when it's appropriate to push your boundaries, and when you need to, no, that's a hard boundary, and we got to honor and respect that, because that is the proper way to do things in business.
Yeah, I did. Right. Well, I think we can wrap up this, and I'll see you next time, Chris.
Absolutely, Roberto. You have a good day.